Apple iPhone 14 release date, price, features, and news. It's almost time for Tim Cook and the rest of Apple's key executives to walk us through the next iPhone generation on stage ahead of its September release. The upcoming iPhone 14 family is coming this September, possibly September 13th, and just in accordance with its super premium status, we've heard tons of leaks and rumors about the upcoming iPhones. So, what have we been hearing, exactly? Lots of things, including but not limited to the swan song of the iPhone mini and the rise of a new size category, an affordable iPhone Max. A big design change in the form of a punch hole cutout replacing the infamous notch, as well as faster hardware on the premium iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max, but also a higher price. And Apple will be bringing all of this come early September 2022. Let's dive in. Even if Apple raises iPhone 14 pricing, you might not pay more for the Pro models. When the original iPhone was released in June 2007, buyers had the option of choosing a model with 4 GB of storage or one sporting 8 GB. By September, it was apparent that 4 GB was not enough storage, and as a result, the 4 GB option was dropped and a more expensive 16 GB unit was made available. The 8 GB model was dropped in price by $200 to $399, while the 16 GB variant was priced at $499. Apple could hike the minimum storage on the 2022 iPhone Pro models to 256 GB. 15 years have gone by and the demand for more storage from consumers, especially on a device that doesn't feature expandable storage, plus the amazing pace of technology has allowed Apple to offer the Pro iPhone models with as much as 1 TB of storage. While Apple has increased the maximum amount of storage available on its handsets, it also has started to increase the minimum amount of storage available on the iPhone. Starting with last year's iPhone 13 line, the minimum amount of storage was hiked from 64 GB to 128 GB. And according to TrendForce, which mentioned it back in June, this year the basic Pro models will come with at least 256 GB of storage. It's another difference between the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Pro models that Apple hopes will drive more consumers to pick up one of the more expensive Pro units. For example, Apple plans on powering the 6.1-inch iPhone 14 and 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Max, or Plus, with the currently used A15 Bionic chipset. The 6.1-inch iPhone 14 Pro and 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Pro Max will be equipped with the brand new A16 Bionic chipset. The older chip is built by TSMC using its second-generation 5nm process node, while the A16 Bionic will be manufactured using the foundry's 4nm process node. The smaller the process node number, the higher the transistor count in a chip. This means that the A16 Bionic should contain more than the 15 billion transistors found in its predecessor. As a result, the newer chip should be more powerful and energy efficient. Other differences include the new eye cutouts in the Pro models to replace the notch, which will remain on the non-Pro units. The Pro models will also get a 48 megapixels wide rear camera with 8K recording capabilities as opposed to the 12 megapixels sensor on the non-Pro phones. While all iPhone 14 models get 6 GB of storage, the Pro models will use the faster LPDDR5 RAM chip compared to the LPDDR4X RAM that will be found on the non-Pro variants. Technically, The price of the 256GB Pro models might remain the same besides having the 120Hz promotion display. The iPhone 14 Pro models will also come with an always-on display that will show the date, time, and widgets from the lock screen along with the battery life percentage, which has just returned to iOS in the latest iOS 16 beta release. Apple is expected to introduce the iPhone 14 series in a little over 4 weeks from now, and top Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo sees the MSRP for the line rising 15%, partly due to the 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Max, replacing the cheaper 5.4-inch iPhone 13 mini. The other reason for the price hike has to do with the expected increase in the price of the iPhone 14 Pro models, which could start at $1,099 for the iPhone 14 Pro and $1,199 for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. $100 more than the starting price of the iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max. Here's the thing. The rumored pricing of $1,099 and $1,199 for the iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max respectively would match the pricing of the 256GB iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max. And if Apple does decide to offer 256GB of storage as the basic configuration for the 2022 Pro models, that would mean that pricing could actually remain the same for the 256GB iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max. To sum things up, Apple could be increasing the average cost of the iPhone 14 series by replacing the lowest-priced iPhone 13 mini with the more expensive iPhone 14 Max, and might eliminate the lowest-priced Pro model by having the base model start with 256GB of storage. But this price rise could still be achieved if Apple keeps the price of the 256GB, 512GB, and 1TB Pro models the same. If TrendForce is right and the iPhone 14 Pro models start with 256GB of storage, we would expect the other options to include 512GB and 1TB. Apple iPhone 14,128GB, 4GB RAM. About Apple iPhone 14,128GB, 4GB RAM. Apple iPhone 14,128GB, 4GB RAM is the upcoming mobile from Apple that is expected to be launched in India on October 31st, 2022, expected. The mobile will come with adequate specifications and decent specifications. It is rumored to be available at a starting price of 80,900 rupees. iPhone 14 display size 6.06-inch, iPhone 14 to 6.06-inch, 1170 by 2532 OLED screen with a 60 Hz refresh rate and 460 pixels per inch. iPhone 14 Max 6.68-inch, 1284 by 2778 OLED screen with 60 Hz refresh rate and 458 pixels per inch. iPhone 14 Pro 6.06-inch, 1170 by 2532 OLED screen with a 1 to 120 Hz variable refresh rate and 460 pixels per inch. Rumored 2022 iPhone lineup. There are still a couple months to go before the 2022 iPhone 14 models will be ready to launch. But because there are some notable updates in the works for Apple's latest smartphones, we've been hearing rumors about them since well before the iPhone 13 models even came out last year. iPhone sizes are changing in 2022, and Apple is eliminating the 5.4-inch iPhone mini as it turned out to be unpopular with customers. After seeing lackluster iPhone mini sales, Apple is planning to focus on larger iPhone sizes for its flagship devices going forward, and we're expecting to see a 6.1-inch iPhone 14, a 6.1-inch iPhone 14 Pro, a 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Max, and a 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Pro Max. Note that there will be number 5.4-inch iPhone 14 mini this year. Since 2017, iPhones with Face ID have had a notch at the front to house all the necessary equipment for facial scanning, but that's set to change with the launch of the iPhone 14. The 2022 iPhone 14 Pro models are expected to eliminate the notch in favor of a new design. Rumors were all over the place for a bit, but it looks like Apple will go with some combination of a circular hole punch cutout for the camera paired with a pill-shaped cutout to house key Face ID components. This feature will unfortunately be limited to the Pro models, and the more affordable iPhone 14 models will continue to feature a standard notch. We are not expecting any significant design changes this year, but the camera bumps for the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Pro could get thicker, with the Pro's bump growing in size more notably. Apple is expected to introduce new color options, perhaps adding a purple shade. The iPhone 14 Pro models may feature a titanium frame instead of a stainless steel frame. And redesigned speaker and microphone grills are a possibility. Apple could also use a new vapor chamber thermal system that will keep the iPhone cooler to minimize the impact of faster chips and 5G connectivity. New iPhones always include camera improvements, and the iPhone 14 is no exception. There will be improvements to the ultra-wide camera, and there's a possibility that Apple will introduce a periscope zoom lens that allows for much greater optical zoom, but it's still not yet clear if this will come in 2022 or 2023. The Pro iPhone models are expected to get 48-megapixel cameras and 8K video recording capabilities, but these features will not be available on the standard iPhone 14 models. Rumors suggest that the iPhone 14 models are likely to continue to use the same A15 chip that was introduced in the iPhone 13 series, while the iPhone 14 Pro models receive an updated A16 chip. This would mark the first time that the Pro iPhone models get a faster chip, with Apple perhaps going this route to cut down on costs and also because of ongoing supply issues. Apple is expected to use Qualcomm's Snapdragon X65 chip, which is the first 10 gigabit 5G modem with faster connectivity speeds and connectivity improvements. Alongside the X65, Apple is expected to introduce new satellite-based emergency features that will let users send texts in emergency situations and report accidents with no cellular coverage.